Now from WATN, it's Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
Welcome to Local 24 This Week, the best place to be to get the real story behind the big stories. We're here every Sunday at 9 a.m. and 10:35 p.m. to give news of the week some context and perspective. And here's what's on our menu for tonight. The Great Compromise. After months of tensions and accusations over the proposed redesign of Tomley Park and what it would mean for the Memphis in May Festival, this week we learned the mediator hired to resolve the conflict actually resolved the conflict. Is this controversy finally over? Council in a pinch. A new Memphis City Council is just weeks from being sworn in, and the outgoing council is taking some action, denying hikes on what we pay for trash pickup, but okaying tax breaks for some pretty big projects. And residency roulette. Yes, we're still playing that game, as now the Shelby County Commission taking up a controversy that Memphis Police and Fire started weeks ago. One new proposal: drop the requirement altogether. We'll hear from my roundtable this week coming up, but we'll start things off with our one-on-one segment. Happy to have Shelby County Commission Chairman Mark Billingsley as my guest, not only to talk about the residency issue, but others also facing the county. Let's talk about the residency issue first, because I know Mike Matthews did a couple stories on that this week. You're frustrated with where things stand now, because it seems to be a requirement that some employees have to abide by and others don't.
Well, Richard, it's really just become a distraction. I feel like the Shelby County Commission has done a good job really working our strategic plan as it relates to health care, economic development, public safety, and education. Recent developments have really become a distraction. We've shared that numerous times. We said it for probably 6 weeks now. This is really sidetracking us, and as more issues came before the commission, we realized that the residency requirement is gray. And so even though you and I may understand or appreciate what a residence is, if you start talking to lawyers and other people, everyone has a different definition of what residency means.
So is the issue for you the enforcement of it, or that it's just the rules are not clear enough, or both?
I think it's both. Again, our county attorney has said the rules are a little bit vague. I think most commissioners like myself believe every person in Shelby County government should be treated fairly. We have people that have just started making $15 an hour in Shelby County government. They do the right thing every day. They come to work, they work hard. They reside here because that's what our charter says. And then it appears to me that some people who may have a little more clout or power are sort of circumventing the rules. And so
this came to head a few weeks ago with the head of the corrections, county corrections, Anthony Alexander. Some evidence from some of his employees who work under him, who actually went to the trouble of hiring a private investigator, and seemed to come up with enough evidence that it was worth bringing to your attention that maybe he lives in a different county and might just have an apartment here or something that allows him to say, hey, I have an MLGW bill and I have a rent, but he may not necessarily live in the county. And of course, the commission voted to have the mayor do something about that, which was not done. Where does this end up, do you think? Is it better to say, as I said at the top of the show, let's just take this out of the charter altogether?
I think that would be a detriment to Shelby County. Shelby County employees and government employees appreciate a great benefit of working in government. It's got certainly a lot of benefits, but also like any other company, we want our employees to live and thrive where they derive their income. And because, quite frankly, we want those individuals to spend their taxes on groceries here in Shelby County without we're one of the largest employers in Shelby County between Shelby County Schools and Shelby County government. I can't imagine if we got rid of the residency requirement. Just think about it, all those potential employees moving to DeSoto, Fayette, or Tipton County, and this is almost like it's cyclical. So you have a job, you turn around and you spend your dollars at your respective grocery stores or on your car, you go to healthcare things in this community. I think if we drop the residency requirement, it would really hurt us.
Now, one argument for it I want to put up on the screen comes from the Memphis Police Director, because this is a city issue too, but he brings up some issues that I think are just worthy of consideration.
Absolutely.
When it comes to why people might not want to live necessarily in the jurisdiction where they work. He says the choice of schools is a factor, choice of community, choice of child care facility, more rural lifestyle with more acreage available, a home closer to the employment location of a spouse, or a responsibility of caring for an elderly family member, among the reasons that some people give for not necessarily wanting to live in the city of Memphis, in the case of Memphis Police, but I guess that would apply to Shelby County as well. In fact, the sheriff, Floyd Bonner, has also said he would really like to be able to have a little more flexibility to hire law enforcement officers. And, you know, if someone's going to put their lives on the line for a job, you have to believe whether they lived in the jurisdiction or not, they would give it their all.
There's a lot of arguments around that, and certainly I support public safety. I have a great relationship with Director Rawlings and Sheriff Bonner. I think public safety is at a different place. I think we've got to do a better job with our public safety. We've got to make people feel comfortable walking down the streets of Memphis. We have a lot of really good things going on. I think the commission, through the task force that I've formed, we are going to look specifically at law enforcement. There may be a need to carve out a couple of years where we allow law enforcement officers to come and work for us, no matter what county they're in, or at least if they're close enough to get to work, because we have a crisis in employment right now, trying to get people that want to put on the uniform and want to serve. And so I think that will be one of the conversations, but for the greater, vast numbers of our county employees, I think we've got to be fair to them. And again, Richard, the super majority of our Shelby County employees do a great job every day. They reside in Shelby County. They give back to Shelby County. They go to church in Shelby County. But then we have just a few people that feel like they're above the rules and regulations. And quite frankly, I tend to think they're more of our privileged government employees.
Back in the booth, I'm going to get a little bit more time because I want to ask you about MATA. Another big issue the county's facing is what kind of role, if any, should the county have in helping with our public transportation, which most everyone agrees is pretty much a laughingstock right now and needs to be improved. You know, I see it from the taxpayer's perspective, who has a car, and that's most of us.
Right.
They see a lot of empty buses and don't see what is the need in throwing more money after something that already has its issues. Do you believe that there is a method in place, ideas in place, that by finding more dollars will really make a difference in MATA and make it more efficient and usable for the people who do truly need it?
I think it's a great question. Mayor Harris's first proposal, as you know, was $145 per car for the third car, the fourth car, the fifth car. That did not receive resounding support from the commission or citizens. We had individuals who that quite frankly can barely afford a car that were opposed to this, as well as people with means. So across the board, people didn't support that proposal. However, I really do appreciate the conversation that Mayor Harris has started on public transportation. At the last meeting, we talked about our poverty numbers. We've got the working poor that need to get to a job. But at the same time, only 2% of our population uses MATA. But I think all of us have a responsibility to provide adequate transportation. I think we're absolutely, you're absolutely right. We are decades behind where we should be, but we've got to address it. I do give a lot of credit to Mayor Harris, even though I was opposed to the $145 per car fee, but I got to give him credit because for the first time, we're talking about public transportation in Shelby County.
What would you support? Are there any ideas floating out there that you would support for raising those funds?
I think there's a number of commissioners that would consider more of a broad-based fee. I mean, all of our cars contribute to some of the situations, the wear and tear on our streets, emissions, something that would be much smaller, potentially, that would affect everyone, because we all need to contribute in some way. That would be the only way I would consider it, but not to narrow it down to a very small group of people with a very, very hefty fee.
Yeah. All right. Well, very good. We'll be staying on that issue. I'm sure we'd love to have you back on the show.
I'd love to be back.
Thank you so much for coming.
Merry Christmas.
We appreciate it. To you as well. We'll be right back with my roundtable right after this.
Greater Memphis Chamber presents Memphians on the Move by Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare. Please join me as I explore the impacts of those people and companies who are driving economic growth and empowering a stronger workforce in Memphis.
To the outside world, you look good. but you don't feel good. With polycythemia vera, PV, symptoms can change so slowly over time, you might not notice. But new or changing symptoms can mean your PV is changing. Let's change the way we see PV. You track and discuss blood counts with your doctor, but it's just as vital to discuss changing symptoms as well. Take notice and take action. Discuss counts and symptoms with your doctor. Visit takeactionpv.com.
Pets. And your favorite painter, Bob Ross Chia Pet.
Fantastic.
Just soak your chia, spread the seeds, water, and watch it grow. And what's that? Unicorn and llama Chia Pets. Wax on, wax off Chia with Karate Kid Chia Pet. And from the hit movie It, Pennywise Chia Pet. Chia Pets, the gift that grows.
At Walgreens, CVS, Target, and Walmart. Makes a great gift.
Let's talk about America.
Not taxes, not tweets.
But how incredible our country is.
We are Keep America Beautiful.
The nonprofit empowering people like you to take action every day.
Visit KAB.org.
Face it, your 9 p.m. routine could use a little excitement.
Wake 'em up.
ABC's got you covered with groundbreaking, award-winning dramas.
Cool.
Something big, I feel it happening. Oh, wow.
This is exactly where you want to be.
So grab the remote and kick back. Why in the night when 9 p.m. is when awesome begins. Then watch Local 24 News at 10. You're watching Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
All right, we're here with my round table now. Tawan Sapp-Milchel is the political consultant and former city councilwoman from the city of Memphis. We also have Local 24's Mike Matthews and Local 24 political analyst and commentator Otis Sanford. So we'll talk about the big compromise that I wasn't so sure was going to happen, you guys, because, you know, it seems like both the River Parks Partnership and the Memphis in May Festival were pretty dug in on this one, and I didn't know how that was all going to work out, but this week we learned there was success by the mediator, and we're going to be able to accommodate both points of view. And what'd you make of it, Otis?
Well, here's how I make of it. We had some really, really good leadership, primarily by former Supreme Court Justice Janice Holder. You know, you never know where great leadership comes from, and I think that she is an unsung leader in this community. And she took on the mediation role here when, as you say, both sides were just really dug in. They were sniping at each other in the media.
Social media.
And so
really
all
bad.
over the place.
Yep.
Even the people at the top were not being all that civil about this. And for her to come in a quiet demeanor way that she is, and to handle that mediation in a very professional way, I think speaks volumes for where we are now. Plus, I give Jim Strickland a little bit of credit too for trying to calm the waters when things were really getting kind of ugly early on this year. But I think most of the credit goes to the mediation here.
Well, he was the one who said we need to hire Holder to do something about it.
And that's why I give him a lot of credit.
Well, go on about that, because it was also his idea to hire her to help with the dispute between the Greens Ward folks and the zoo.
Exactly. Yeah, that's leadership. That's real political leadership. Yeah. Recognizing that I represent all of these people who have grievances, but I need an outside person to come in and to look at the facts and help them find a solution. I think he showed leadership.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't disagree with that.
Because had it not been for that, we would have had a war out here on that issue.
Especially on this. Yeah,
it was getting really ugly, and people are passionate about both. You understand the emotions behind it, but I think we have some renderings of what the original renderings of what they thought the redesign was going to look like, and I'm told by Carol Coletta that they believe strongly that they're going to be able to retain all of the features, one form or another, in the park redesign that they will now have to commission, the redesign of the redesign, I guess. And she's very excited, as are the Memphis in May folks, that a compromise was reached.
Great. That's fantastic news. It is, because now they can get going and do their thing, and everything will be just fine and dandy, and peace will reign in the land. I mean, frankly, though, you have to look at the fact that Mayor Strickland, who's always said that getting together for this type of situation, these negotiations, were critically important. It goes back to his days as a lawyer. He said he just believed in that, and it seems to work out. So, because remember, this case, this was actually a political issue for a while, if there were such political issues in the mayor's race. Former Mayor Harrington said this was a plot by the rich and the privileged Memphians against the average Memphians. This looks like it's going to work out to be just fine for everybody.
But you know what I give Holder credit for? For her to have had enough foresight to get every party to agree not to disparage the other.
In writing.
In writing. I was like, oh my goodness, so they got to walk out of here smiling.
Yeah. Well, that's the judge who came up with that. Yeah.
Well, and you know, back to Strickland's approach on this, he has this quiet demeanor that comes into play here that I think is very important, because even though there was some back and forth on social media and what have you, it largely could have been so much worse, honestly. But he kept, you know, I'm staying behind my decision here. We're going to work this out, aren't we? And they did.
And two other things that I think he did early on, and again, I give him a lot of credit as well. He made the public know that, yes, we are going to have 1 year of disruption. Next year, after next year's Memphis in May, there will be 1 year when they won't be down on the river. He also, I think, was very insistent about not turning Riverside Drive back into one lane each way. I think he was strong on that.
Yeah. All right, we'll go there. When we come back, we'll talk about some big decisions and votes by the Memphis City Council. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
When a trucking company tried to offer easy money to a family after their loved one was seriously injured and later died, Nahan Saharovich and Trot said stop. At trial, we finally got them to pay our client's demand of $6.3 million. Call 683-7000.
I got smart about saving for college. And now my daughter's off to a great start.
When it comes to your money, whatever you want to get smart about, you can find at smartaboutmoney.org.
We got smart about loans.
And sign here. Now it's our house we're going home to.
I got smart about preparing for those unexpected challenges. Now I know at least my finances will be healthy.
Smart About Money is a free online resource. We are a non-commercial, non-profit organization dedicated to helping people just like you get information about money. For everything from how to build an emergency fund to how to deal with job uncertainty, smartaboutmoney.org has the answers you've been looking for.
I got smart about credit.
Would you like paper or plastic?
Now paper or plastic has a whole new meaning.
Smartaboutmoney.org, the easy place to start when you want to get smart about your finances.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
This year, the city of Memphis and Shelby County honor 200 years while embracing the next 100 years to come. Join in as we celebrate our new century of soul.
Local 24 is a proud supporting partner of A New Century of Soul. You're watching Local 24 this week with Richard Ransom.
All right, back on Local 24 this week to talk about the Memphis City Council, which a lot of those folks that sit on the council are about to be leave, and new ones will be sworn in. And Kim Conrad, the chairman, who will be the guest on this show next week, had a big agenda of things he wanted to get accomplished, Mike, and you covered a lot of it. I mean, they covered a lot of issues in these last couple of weeks.
Absolutely have, and they have the biggest one still probably coming up in their final meeting, because it sure looks like right now that the rate hike request for Memphis Light, Gas, and Water is going to go through. All the things, all the issues they had with MLGW earlier this year about, hey, this pension plan seems out of whack. Have you cut back where you need to cut back? Have you found places to save? Well, they spent the summer with a report trying to find just that. So it looks like they're going to come through. Now, the trash issue is going to be one I think that you're going to see a lot of fallout on starting next month, because Mayor Strickland has said since the city council didn't pay for the solid waste plan he wanted, that you're going to see a reduction in services.
Now that one really, I don't know if we've given that enough attention, because that's a big deal. First of all, do you think he's just calling the city council's bluff, hoping that they can revisit that matter and maybe get the 7 votes they need?
I don't know. I think that overall he might. I mean, you know, if you start laying off some sanitation workers, that could open up a huge door.
Right.
Yeah. And a big problem. And he's mentioning, he's saying it looks like he's going to have to do that. So maybe that'll force city council members to come back to the issue again.
Because it failed 6-6, so somebody was not in attendance or didn't vote. Somebody abstained or something.
Yeah, there was one person.
So
Hedgepath.
it failed by virtue of being a tie.
Reed Hedgepath wasn't there, and he doesn't come back next year, so he can't be the one. Or, you know, someone on the side. Who's it going to be, Tawan? Who? Someone can reconsider? Can anyone reconsider on this?
It has to be on the prevailing side.
Well, there was no
prevailing side. So I guess they could just bring it back up with an agreement of the bottom majority of the body wanting to do it.
The mayor's pretty adamant that, Otis, we just can't afford to offer the services we're offering if we don't get this rate hike of $7 a month.
And I agree with the mayor. Now, I get to check my pulse.
This is twice now.
I agree with the mayor. I think there's only so long you can go without, I always say, a modest rate increase for services, because goods and services will cost more. And you have to pay for that. It's like anybody else's household. And so this could be a stinking situation if they don't.
No pun intended.
Find a way to resolve it.
And I agree with that, but I think, you know, Mike and I were talking about this a little bit off camera before the show, that I think the mayor made a political calculation here to go ahead and try to do this during an election year, and maybe bank that the city council would go along with it after the election with the money part. Well, that's not working out all that well right now. So that might have been a political gamble that he didn't really count all of his votes early on.
I think he was hoping that the constituents, because there was a marked difference. There was a difference once he started picking up the heavy-duty stuff every 2 weeks, as opposed to leaving it out there for 20 days or so. There was a marked difference in how the city looked.
People like it.
Exactly.
We like it.
So,
you pay for what you get.
Exactly. So he was hoping, I think, that the constituents would let city council members know, yes, keep it. But they just didn't want to vote for another increase when looking at a Memphis Light gas and water rate increase, and so it was just bad timing all the way around.
Do we really want to live in a city where the large, bulky items that are now only picked up once every 2 weeks might not get picked up but once every 3 weeks or once a month or whatever?
I don't think so. And if it has to go to the very next council, where you're going to have a lot of new people there who do care about how the city looks, I believe, I think if it doesn't pass before then, I think it'll pass with the new council.
But we've had programs brought up before, pay as you throw, if you remember that, when, you know,
and some people can't afford to pay it as they throw it. But I agree with the mayor on this one, and I really hope that the city council will have the guts to do what's right for the citizens, because trash on the side of the road for long periods of time does not speak well for a good, clean city.
I agree.
It's just the bottom line. And you pay for what you get.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something the city council did vote for and showed courage, I guess, and that's a large number of tax breaks on a good number of projects, from the fairgrounds to a $1 billion project for the Pinch District. But the one that's getting the most attention, I guess, is the Lowe's Hotel, which will be a convention hotel for the renovated convention center. That's a $200 million project. The Lowe's project is almost as much. And it's a 500-room hotel. The luxury brand speaks for itself. And the folks over at Sheraton, they aren't very happy, because they are right now the only convention center hotel, and they're not happy with the tax breaks that the city wants to give Lowe's. Where do you think this is going to end up, Otis?
I think it's going to end up with Lowe's getting what it wants. The Sheraton people filed a complaint over in Davidson County that I think the judge threw out the other day. So I just think that that's a losing battle on their end. I think Lowe's is going to get what it wants. But the downtown is being totally remade here, Richard. When you look at Union Row, when you look at Lowe's, when you look at the Pinch District, in 5 or 6 years, you're going to see a totally different downtown that's, I think, more thoughtful. We were talking about Nashville earlier. I just think that this all is worth the effort that's being put into it.
Well, Ryan Poe, the columnist at the Commercial Appeal, had some words about this on downtown development that I want to share with folks at home. He said, there are two ways to look at downtown development as a whole. The first way, the way Sheraton's owners are looking at it, sees growth as a threat. If you build a new hotel, it'll siphon away our business. The second way, and the right one in Ryan's opinion, is to see downtown's growth as a rising tide that lifts all boats rather than cannibalizing existing business. And he's kind of advocating a change of mentality, I guess, to see that we can have growth in a number of different sectors all at once, and it doesn't necessarily have to conflict with the other. Do you agree with that or not?
I don't know. I know we have to see growth, but since 2005, when we started tax breaks in the city of Memphis, I was on the council at the time, we have said this will grow our economy. I'm not sure, we'll soon be approaching 2020. And I'm not sure we can say it has lifted all tides. I think it's going to pass, and I know it's going to pass, but I think somebody somewhere needs to take the bull by the horn and really study this issue about how have we grown economically as a result of these tax breaks.
And you make a good point. There's a lot of money being spent, but in raw population numbers and raw economic numbers, are we seeing any growth?
Not to mention the poverty level has gone up this year.
Exactly.
Okay, so no. It's not being felt by members of this community. And it's getting to be a larger group of members of this community that aren't getting helped out by the hotel. And if those hotels open, what kind of jobs are these folks going to get? They're going to get, they won't get $15 an hour. They will if they're lucky, but they probably won't. It doesn't help.
Otis, 30 seconds.
Well, I think they make valid points, and I'm not going to be the person that argues against what you all just said. I just see that the powers that be see that downtown is where we see absolute wonderful growth taking place. We see these out-of-towners coming in and investing in the city, and they think that's the future of especially downtown, and hopefully it'll
help. Well, in any city, it starts downtown usually.
And don't you think Smoky City wants to see it too? Orange Mound wants to see it, Whitehaven wants to see it, Parkway Village. So if it's got to lift our boats, it's got to lift our neighborhoods.
All right, we got to leave it there. We'll be right back, wrap things up right after this.
Every good pro deserves a little holiday upgrade. And you know the time is right to get the tools you trust. Lowe's is here with more of the tools and accessories that pros want at our lowest prices of the year. So your bottom line comes out on top.
Get your choice of a DeWalt cordless drill or 2-pack battery set for $99. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's.
Only better. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, Maria. How are the sinuses today?
I'm breathing and sleeping better.
Let's get your prescription renewed.
Thanks.
So it's like going to the doctor without going to the doctor.
Yep, and there's no copay.
No, that is better.
Much better.
$0 copays for Ambetter Telehealth. Affordable coverage, valuable benefits. Now that's better.
An evening in front of a fire can be so relaxing, but dangerous creosote buildup can cause a chimney fire if not removed. Help protect your home with CSL, the creosote sweeping log. It helps clean your chimney while it burns. Inside your chimney walls, there's a constant buildup of flammable tar and creosote. The active minerals in CSL will reduce those dangerous deposits, making your next fire safer. It's so easy. Burn just once every 60 fires. CSL, the creosote sweeping log.
Get CSL. Available at Lowe's, Ace, True Value, and Walmart.
Everyone has a story.
You can overcome.
Stories that matter and are important to you.
Voice to the voiceless.
Stories of grief, triumph, tragedy, and hope. Local 24 News is committed to telling your story, keeping you informed, keeping you safe. Local 24 News with Richard Ransom and Katina Rankin. Telling your story.
To comment on today's program, rransom@localmemphis.com is the email, rransom@localmemphis.com. All right, my thanks to Otis, to Mike, and to Juan for being here, and my thanks to you as well. We'll see you next time for Local 24 This Week.